Hi everyone, welcome to today's video on setting up your development environment with Visual Studio Code. So I'll walk you through the installation, essential settings, fundamental extensions, and some cool shortcuts for beginners. Yay! By the way, I'll cover more shortcuts later in this course. So I said for absolute beginners, right? So before we dive in, let's talk about Visual Studio Code. So if you are just tuning in and you have not heard of Visual Studio Code, which is popularly known as VS Code, hold on and let me explain. So when you type on your computer, you use Microsoft Word or you use Notepad, right? So these are called editors. MS Word, Microsoft Word, Notepad, Notepad++, all these are text editors. Even when you type on WhatsApp, that's an editor panel. So editors let you type text. So for coding, we use code editors, and there are many code editors out there like Sublime Text, Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, and these advanced editors offer features like syntax highlighting and other functionalities to enhance your coding experience. Now, I think back in 2017 when I started programming, experts often recommended using a basic editor with color coding or auto correction. So this will help you get used to the syntax, and this was quite frustrating for beginners, but now it's all about using tools to make your life easier. Understanding the tools makes you a better programmer, of course. And so Visual Studio Code is a free editor from Microsoft, and it's one of the popular code editors out there. So if this explanation was simple enough for you so far, please hit the like button and share this video with someone who wants to learn programming. Now let's get VS Code installed. Head over to the official website, download the version for your operating system, and follow the installation information. Now you might say, I don't need VS Code, I have Sublime Text. Why do I need this? Well, VS Code or Visual Studio Code, it's not limited to one language. You can use it for multiple programming languages, and it is so perfect for multiple projects, and it has top extensions. So that is why it is recommended for majority of programmers are using Visual Studio Code. Okay, now to install, you open your browser, either Chrome or Mozilla. When you open your browser, you head over to visualstudio.com, studio.com. So when you get to visualstudio.com, you are going to see download Visual Studio, but this is not what we are looking for. You also see Visual Studio. This is not what we are looking for, but we want to download Visual Studio Code. Of course, you might have downloaded many applications, many software before now, but this is just a guide in case you have any question. So if you click on the drop down button, you're going to see for Windows x64, for Mac OS, for Linux. So if you have Windows, you click on Windows, and then it takes you to the documentation. Okay, there is a pop-up, so you're going to select where to download it to, and you select the location. Okay, let's just put it in downloads, and then we save this file here. And so this is the documentation where it tells you how to do things, tips and tricks, introductory video, how to set up, which is what I am doing at the moment, and then some extensions that you can use with Visual Studio like Python, C++, and interesting extensions that makes Visual Studio Code very robust. So now I have it downloaded. So I go to where it was downloaded, which is this one. So when I click on this to install the Visual Studio Code, so this is the license agreement. So of course people don't usually read license agreement, so you click on accept, and then you click on next. So create a desktop icon. So if you want the icon to be on your desktop so that you can easily have access to it, you check this. And then this one makes it possible for you to right click on any file and say open with Visual Studio Code. So you mark this and then open with code action. If you have a folder that you want to, when you right click on that folder, you want the option to open with Visual Studio Code, so you can mark this. And this one, I'm going to uncheck this and add to part. When you have when you work on the terminal, you could type code dot and then it opens Visual Studio. So when you select this, it makes it easy for that to happen. So click on next. After I click on next, click on install, and so it's preparing to install. So I'm going to pause the video, and okay, it doesn't take much time anyways for it to install. This is the location where the Visual Studio Code is stored. This is actually a very powerful tool that I recommend beginners to use. So it's not like back in the days where you are asked to type with bare metal editor. I call them bare metals. So now that it has finished installation, we could launch Visual Studio Code. So when you click on finish, it automatically launches the application. Now let's get familiar with the interface. So after your installation, head over to your desktop and create a folder, and let's name this folder Web Dev Fundamentals. Okay, so after I created the folder on my desktop, I go on to open the Visual Studio Code. And so if you installed it properly, this is the startup page. And so during the installation, you have to always allow this to come up, so that you could have access to the start page and then the recent document, and also some walkthroughs if you need instruction and guide on how to do some certain things. Then you leave this. I always keep this welcome page on startup. So we want to open the folder that we just created on our desktop, and to open a file in Visual Studio Code, you need to go to file, and then there's new text file, new window. The new window will make you open the another instance of Visual Studio Code. So if I click new window, it opens another Visual Studio Code. So you could see that I could have two projects running at the same time on different folder. So that is what the new window does. And then new window with profile, we're not going to look at that. And then open file. If you have a file created already, you can open your file. And then the open folder, since we created a folder on our desktop, we can click on this open folder to open the particular folder. So when I click on open folder, it brings my files. So I need to go to desktop and locate where I created that file. So the file I created was web dev, so which is this. Select folder, and then voila, the folder opens. So you have opened a file on Visual Studio Code, and so I want us to look at the user interface. So on the left, we have the activity bar, which is this activity bar on the left, and it includes files like this is the Explorer, this is for source control, which is Git. So source control is used to check your code, to control your code. And then here is the run and debug, and then we have the extensions, the remote explorer, and the GitLens. So all this will be explained later as we go through the details. So one powerful extension is the GitLens. This GitLens, so it supercharges the built-in Git capacities. So with GitLens, you can easily visualize code authorship. You can easily visualize the authors of code. You could see who changed what, when, and why. and you could also get valuable insight into the history of your code. So this is particularly useful for collaborative projects. So we are not going to use this in this course, so don't bother about GitLens. And for the remote explorer, actually, so this allows you to connect to remote environment like a virtual machine or a container, and you can edit code as if it were local. So this is fantastic for working on cloud projects. So this remote explorer I use to connect to work files, so I'm not going to click this. And so then to start working on a project, you can open a folder. We've already opened the folder. You go to file, and when you go to file, you can go to open folder, and so you browse for the location of your project. And you can also right click on the folder and then select open with code. So if you have that option enabled, it will open that particular folder with Visual Studio Code. And so you could also create new files directly. So when we are already on the Web Development Fundamentals folder. So to create new files, we just need to go to our Explorer, and then you can see that there is a search. So search means when you have multiple files here and you want to search for a file you're looking for. And this is to refresh, and then this is to clear search result. So you see open new search editor, view as tree, collapse all. So we want to create new folder, so new file. So since this is a new folder, we have not created any file here, so you could just click on new file to create new file. You can use the shortcut Ctrl+N. So I want to create a new file now, so I need to collapse the search. I need to collapse so that I could have the Web Development Fundamentals folder. So I want to create the file inside the Web Development folder. So I click on new file or new folder. So inside a folder you can create another folder. So I click on new file, and so let me just name the new file test. I could name the new file test. Let's see, test1. So it's named, so I could just put a random information here and say this is text1. Okay, that's right. Okay, let me say this is another text. This is another text. The another way you can create a new file is to just simply type Ctrl+N. Majorly we need to select what we want to do. So let me say HTML, and so we do this, populate it. Okay, so this is basically how to create a file, a HTML file. So now you see that there is a round dot here, which signifies that the file is unsaved. So they are unsaved changes, and so we need to save the changes. So if you make a Ctrl+S, so it brings out the name for me to store or to save. So I could say index dot, don't worry about anything of this, we'll get to see it. So index.html. Then we could create another file, Ctrl+N, select language, call it CSS. So just Ctrl+S to save. Create a new, Ctrl+N, select the language, choose JavaScript, and then you are good to go. Ctrl+S, save, and then JS. So no, it's supposed to be script, not supposed to be JS, it's supposed to be script.js. So I need to rename this file. I right click on this, and so rename script.js. So we have created 3 files in Visual Studio Code. We want to look at the extensions. What are the extensions? and how do they help you as a programmer. So extensions are where Visual Studio Code usually shines the most. So you can add support for any language or any tools you can think of. So when you click on extensions, you're going to have tons of extensions. So for you as a beginner, the first extension that you need to install is the live server. So if I go to extension and I click on live server, I search for live server, I see that there's live server here. Okay, it has 51.9 million downloads. So you go for this one by Ritvik Day. Okay, so I have already installed it on my system. So for you, you have to click on install, and after you install, it might ask you to restart Visual Studio Code. So you need to not restart your computer, restart Visual Studio Code. So this is the first extension, and what this extension basically does is that it allows you to see your web page updates in real time. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that means. So when we go to this our index.html, let's say we put some text. Don't worry about this, I'm just trying to demonstrate what live server is. So we'll put some random text here. Let's see, header 1, heading 1. Okay, put some random text here and we save. So if you go to this point, you're gonna see live server here, right? So when you click on this live server, it's going to open your web browser, so that whatever updates you make on this live server on your Visual Studio Code, it automatically updates on your browser. So if I click on go live, so it opens my browser called heading 1. So you see that it is that easy. So live server is one extension that is very cool and we're going to use. There are other extensions that are out there. We're going to look at them as we need them. So there is the S-Lint extension, there is the automatic save extension, and some cool stuffs out there. So I'm not going to go too much on this because this is not what you need as a beginner. You just need to get the tool installed and start using it as soon as possible. Okay, so now that we have seen the extensions, we can also check how to customize the themes. Okay, you could change the theme of your Visual Studio Code. So in 2024, it is an error to have a white theme. Okay, so if you're a programmer, always go for black. Of course, black theme is better for the eyes because of lighting. So you could go to File, and then you go to Preferences. When you go to Preferences, you could see the theme. So theme, color theme, file icon theme, product icon theme, or you could use the shortcut Control comma. So if you use the shortcut Control and comma, it will take you to preferences. Okay, Control and comma takes you to the preferences. So if I want to try that now, I do Control and comma. So I go to the settings. Okay, so here you have extensions, you have the text editor. If you want to look at the settings for your cursor and so many things, don't bother about this, don't get lost with the settings. Okay, now I go to File, Preferences, the theme. If I select color theme, okay, you're gonna see dark modern, dark visual. If I change it to light modern, it's gonna change. Okay, it has changed my color, and then I can still go to preferences, theme, color themes. So I want to go with dark modern, default dark modern. Was this what it was before? It looks so different. Okay, give me back my color theme. Okay, think we're using dark default. Okay, so this is what we're using, and there you have it. I'm going to wrap it up here. Yay! So I'm going to continue from here. and then we'll build on it to explain more about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So yeah, that's it. So far, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it, and if you have not subscribed, kindly subscribe.